Another hot day today, though it's supposed to be cooling down by midweek. We're looking at highs in the mid to upper 80s in LA. Right now, 71 degrees in the city of Compton. I'm Dominique DePrima for Radio Free 102.3 KJLH and kjlhradio.com. We got a special guest joining us today for New Media Monday, and Miles Blockson has been named segment producer of our New Media Monday pieces by me. Good morning, Miles.
Good morning, Dominique.
So you have introduced us, you're going to introduce us to CJ Peters, who's creative director of a company called Konsole Kingz. Why did you feel like this was important? This was an important person for the Front Page family to meet.
I thought that CJ was an important person for everyone to meet because he connects the video game world with celebrities and followers of the hip-hop lifestyle. And he also is in the process of developing a few apps right now. And I think, for New Media, we talk about technology, and we haven't really honed in on the app conversation. So he's a perfect person to talk about how apps are saturating the market and how to develop an app and the ups and downs of developing an app in today's society.
And then again, of course, we hear so much about this, how there are no African Americans working for Twitter, Google, just about anybody. All the things we use all day long don't have any of us working there. So it's refreshing, I would think, to see someone who is successful in the field.
Yes, of course it is, always.
All right, so thank you for connecting us and segment producing this piece on this morning. CJ Peters formerly provided marketing and promotional services to the music industry, including Universal Music and others. He started an independent hip-hop label, and he's a graduate of LSU with a BS in Management Information Systems. All righty. CJ Peters, welcome to the Front Page. Mr. Peters, good morning. Oh, you have a radio voice too? Okay.
Yeah, I've been told. I dabbled in that a little bit.
So, your concept, your Konsole Kingz, is really like bringing the hip hop world together with the gaming world, right?
Correct. When I first started Konsole Kingz, I started because there was a need, like similar to what you were saying. There were no African Americans in Silicon Valley. Well, 10 years ago, there were no African-American voices in gaming, and I got kind of tired of not hearing somebody talk and look and with all the, mannerisms that I had in gaming media. Everything was one way from the guys who actually made the game. So I was like, well, I need to make something that, appeals to me and the people like me. So I kind of set on that path to do that.
It is interesting. I wouldn't call myself at all a gamer. I can't, but I have a son who's 10. And so I get exposed to a lot of stuff. He knows. He really knows. And what I notice is that he likes to watch a lot of YouTube videos that have these different YouTubers doing parody. There's so many of these people who are not black doing their sort of gaming world takes on hip-hop songs. And it's
right.
Like, even for those of us who are not black, hip-hop has infiltrated the whole gaming, YouTube tech culture. So it's kind of weird for me, being a hip-hop kid, to hear all these songs and they're where are the black people? Where, you know what I mean? It's like they kept that and sort of, I don't think there's anything malicious about it.
They're there. I probably know most of them, but they are there. It's just not in big numbers, but they do exist.
But I can imagine you must have had an immediate response to what you were doing, because there are so many black kids like my son who are gaming, right, and pretty serious about it, but not necessarily represented in the higher echelons of the business part.
Yeah, when I first started, some people asked me how you knew it was going to work. Well, like Miles was saying, like I was one of David Banner's web guys. I hooked up with him. He found me, and I made like his first website for his independent label. Just being around, just as you, being around people that actually produce the music and help move the culture, I was around him, Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher had a brother that all he did was just play video games. He didn't want to make them or nothing. He just played them, and he was just good. So I said, man, this is the guy right here. This is the target. This is people I'm trying to hit. People that are really passionate about games, that really like hip hop. So basically, I asked him if he wanted to like do a segment in this other project I had, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we just got in this room and we just started shooting. Any camera I could find that could record video and sound, I just recorded him and edited him and put him in this project. Well, the project was a hip hop based project, but everybody knows somebody in hip hop. So I was like, okay, well, what's gonna separate me from everybody else? I said, I'm gonna go a gaming route because I like gaming, and I know a lot of hip hop people that like gaming. And everybody I'm around, they game all the time. That's all they do in the studio. They play games. So I said, okay, well, then I did that. I showed it to some other people, and they were like, yeah, this is nice. It's somebody, that look like them, talk like them, talking about video games. And just with a little small bass and demo, I set my way to do this thing.
And successfully so. It's funny, too, because, you say that's all they do in the studio. And I think some of our listeners who are maybe parents or grandparents think that only kids still play games.
Oh, no.
Not at all. In fact, I think they might be the minority now. The children, most of the people that, are really buying games are older.
Well, yeah, so it's two different demographics. It's like, I guess you could say cartoons, right? When cartoons first started, they were for adults. They wasn't for kids. They were made for adults by adults. And then slowly, as they got popular, the adults that had kids, their habits go on to their kids. So the kids are watching cartoons. They're like video games. Video games were made by grown-ups trying to have another form of entertainment. And it trickled down to the kids. So my actual audience is actually 17 and above, like 17 to 35, 17 to 40. But from the video games, perspective. Yeah, so it's everybody.
But you've evolved into a multimedia technology company, so it's not, only games, although that's...
Well, yeah, so that's like your point. A lot of people think it's just games and playing games. It's making video games in the video game industry is a very corporate America technical industry. It's entertainment is the product, but to make the product, you have to have high technology. And that's what makes it its own little beast. And a lot of people in the entertainment have a hard time cracking into the gaming industry and vice versa because they can't get over those technical hurdles. They can't speak the language that the gaming guys speak and vice versa. And so that's why they have disconnects. Especially, when I was doing it from a hip-hop side. It's getting better now. But from a hip-hop perspective, it was, the gaming companies, they were getting kind of upset with the entities that were promoting their games because they didn't treat their games the way the gaming company thought they should be treated. So there was a disconnect. So that made a lane, that made a small window for my company to go in and almost become a agency in a sense to bridge those two worlds. Because, as you said, I have a management information systems degree. And my former partner, he was an industrial engineer and he had his own game studio. He's one of the few people that actually was African American that had their own studio that actually made games.
And also, I'm sure, I'm looking at your information here, I'm sure you're also doing a lot of cultural translation on both ends, I would imagine.
Exactly. That's kind of, when I first, after my, every business takes like 4 years to grow, so after my 4th year being in business, that 5th year, 6th year, that's really what it turned into. That's one period where that's all we did was PR work, just getting the gaming companies attached to the correct hip-hop celebrities and vice versa, have an Xbox with the Xbox 360 to their hands of the right rappers and such. So, yeah, that's really what we did. We literally did those translations.
We can find you at Konsole Kingz, by the way, which is with 2 Ks and then a Z, the end of Kingz.com. Let's talk a little bit about, well, I want to shift to apps real quick. But before we do that, what for people that are really gamers, because I know we have some that listen, we also have some that have no clue about technology. So maybe on both ends of the spectrum, What would you be looking out for in terms of what's hot?
What's hot in gaming?
Hot? Yeah.
What's hot in gaming? Well, this is going to be like the real obvious question, but what's hot in gaming is games, right?
Yeah, hello.
but besides that, what's hot is really what the consoles meaning Xbox One or a PlayStation 4 or a Nintendo U. Those, we call them, they're called consoles, like a VCR is a console, such things, just bringing terminology for it. But those devices haven't even tapped in what they're going to do. Like, they build those devices to almost future-proof them. So the stuff that they're going to do 3 years from now, the architecture is there now. It's inside the box, but nobody's done it yet. So in about 3 years, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, those are the consoles my business focuses on. They're going to be doing some stuff that, probably we wasn't ready for, but that's what I'm waiting to see that.
Interesting. Because as a mom, you're like, it seemed like they come out with another version of the doggone, hardware every 2 minutes. You got the DS. Now I got to get the 3DS. Now.
Well, see, that's interesting you said that, because that's kind of leading into, that's almost segueing into the next topic, right? So Nintendo's strategy has always been to sell devices,
right?
And so, but Nintendo's kind of in trouble. Because your son, you probably have an iPhone. Your son probably has an iPhone, right?
Yeah, and he kind of says the same thing. Nintendo's in trouble. Yeah, exactly. Don't invest. Don't buy Nintendo stocks, Mom.
The same quality game, people are giving it away for free that Nintendo used to crush the market with, right? Like,
they give it away for free, and then they get you with that, in-app purchases.
They hit you with the microtransactions, as they call it.
I hate in-app purchases.
Don't say that.
They're all on my credit card. Okay, well, no, my son has explained to me that we have to support the people that develop these games, so even though they're free, if we don't pay for in-app purchases, then the games won't be developed. And so I'm like, okay.
And you say he's 10?
Yeah. He's like, Mommy, you pay $40, $50, $60 for a game. Why wouldn't you pay $5-10 for an in-app purchase? I'm like, all right.
You got to see that boy at that age, and he has that perspective on the business and development. Yeah. That's great. But you know what? I have a son too, so that also comes with
this
what
generation.
They're growing up with. Yeah, they're growing up with YouTube, and they can watch how anything is made. They can watch anybody breaking down anything.
That's right.
So
and they do. I call it the on-demand generation. They don't know nothing about waiting for anybody's TV show to come on at a certain time. We just get it on YouTube.
In certain respects, it's going to help them, but in certain other respects, it's going to hurt them. So we as parents have to catch up on the physical human interaction part to go along with their on-demand craze.
Yeah, well said.
If you will.
So you were going to how the apps are connected to all of this.
Oh yeah, so basically now, and it goes back to the other question, what to look out for. So inside the consoles now they have almost the equivalent of games that could be apps, right? So I think what's going to happen is Xbox and PlayStation are going to be able to take these iPhone games and the code and technology that's used to make those iPhone games, and they're going to build an extension of their console to play those games directly on the console. So that way, they can get a piece of that money as well from the developer. That's what's going to happen. I see that happening. They kind of started already because they have their own games that are not the ones you buy from the store, and you can only download them on their network. But it's going to open up to develop, because a lot of people are making games for apps. A lot of people are making a lot of money, and these games are not cheap to make. Just like your son said, some of these games start at $100,000, $50,000 to develop.
Wow.
Yeah, gaming is not cheap. That's why gaming takes a corporation to put out. That's why it takes a corporation to put out a game. Maybe not to make it. You can have like 5 guys in a garage to make it. But when it comes time to put it out, somebody has to, just like a movie, somebody has to put that producer has to put that money up for the creators to make the movie. It's just the same way as like a video game.
And what about your apps? I know you said you probably can't tell us exactly what you're working on, but maybe you can.
I can give you a little bit. So, in the past, I made an app called Candy Coated Spades. I got a license from Candy Birds of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and we made a spades game for people that like to play spades the way primarily African Americans play spades, with jokers and deuces. If you play spades.
I don't, but I'm looking you up online right now with this. Okay.
So that game came out. Here's a lesson to everybody. When you release a product, make sure you are really looking at where the market is going and make sure you can adjust to the market. So when we put that game out, we put it out in the transition between what people were used to paying for apps versus when people started doing free apps and the in-app purchase. This is when the in-app purchase. So we landed right when that transition was happening. You can imagine that's not a good place to land when you're putting out a game.
Yeah.
So we got some good downloads, good traction, but then the app itself, the game, wasn't making enough money to hurdle a new version to fit the new direction of apps. So we kind of got stuck in that kind of sense with the game. But it was a good learning experience. You know, I worked with developers, all this work with people. We went through.
It's a huge accomplishment anyway. I mean, you put out a game,
Put out a game, went through 3 developers. You know, you got to find the right person that fits with how you want to work. So all you got, that's like, how do I explain that? So it's like, when you're like, if you make a movie, you have a part, have a role, you have somebody acting, but you're like, that actor's quite not right for this role. We need to replace him and have somebody else redo their lines. That's kind of how we did the game. We had this one guy working on it, and it was like, we having a hard time getting him to do what we want to do because, black people play spades differently than a traditional way. So he knew how to play the traditional way, but he never played the way we played, so he kept trying to put stuff in it that wasn't in the game. So we had to actually get rid of him and find somebody that was open enough to accept the way we played the game and make it the way exactly we wanted to play. So after going through different people, we finally landed on a company that could actually produce that for us. So that was my experience there. So, that game, people, games aren't cheap, right? So that game probably cost us like $60,000. And so $6,000 to make a semi-successful game, right? That's, it's like making a movie that only hits DVD when you want it to hit a theatrical release, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you recoup, sometimes you don't. So you got to move on to the next game. So, but the good thing about that game is I noticed that people now, I don't know why, but now people are, like for the last 2 months, people have been emailing the game trying to figure out why they can't, why you can't play it. You can't play it because I don't support it anymore. Because I'm working on, that led me to work on another version. So now I'm going to take your son's advice, right? I'm going to make a version of that game that has in-app purchases and that's free and monetize it through advertisements and in-app purchases and stuff like that.
That makes sense, especially for a card game.
So the first game was multiplayer, and that itself was ambitious of us. Like, we had a real team-based spade game online where you could play against people, chat, and all that stuff. That was, when you build a game that big, you have to have the marketing and money to keep feeding the users so it can grow, and we didn't have that at the time.
Wow. All these things you don't think about. Miles,
you don't think about that stuff.
Miles, you're our resident tech expert. I know you probably have something for CJ that I missed.
My biggest question is, right now you're in the middle of developing apps. Do you feel like the market is saturated more now versus when you first came out with the app for Candy Burst?
Saturated with junk. Just like this hip-hop industry is saturated with junk. This app industry is saturated with junk. So you have to really search and do your research to find the good stuff because it's there. So I play games on my phone all the time. and I look at the ones that I think are going to be junk, and I just skip over. I don't care how many people download it. It's not what I want to play. So, but there's somebody out there making something that somebody wants to play. So you just have to find it. Like if somebody out there making good hip hop music you want to listen to, you have to find it these days because all the clutter and all the social media noise is messing it up.
Even with, apps that aren't for games. I mean, it's like it used to be there was just one, traffic app or one. Now you have so many. It's like, oh, my God, which one do I pick and how do I know which one works?
You see what's happening, though? All the good ones, all the good non-gaming apps that really impact the culture, they get bought.
Very true.
Like Google bought Waze. Like Waze told everybody where the cops were, where the best traffic routes were. Then Google started using Waze for their actual traffic app to let you know where all the accidents and incidents were. And I don't know if you ever, 2 years ago, you could have looked at Google Maps and saw it said powered by Waze. This incident was powered by Waze. So I guess they got tired of being powered by Waze. And they said, hey, we need to own Waze. Own Waze.
Yeah.
Wow, Waze is it's going to be a part of Google Maps. Like Waze
it's so fast.
Waze, it's there. It's still there. Because
it's so fast how these, Microsoft and, no offense, Miles, and all these companies are just they're buying up it's like the app, you barely, becomes really popular and it's already owned by a huge company.
Your son plays Minecraft, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he was kind of mad at Microsoft for buying Minecraft. They're gonna ruin it.
Microsoft bought Mojang for $1 billion just for that in one game.
Wow. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Makes me wish I was a Swedish game developer.
Now he lives in California.
Give anyone $1 billion, they move to California.
Right. Exactly.
Well. We got to go. It's been great talking with you, and I hope that you'll keep in touch with us, help us to support the work that you're doing, because that's part of the fun for us here. How can we keep track of you other than Konsole Kingz?
Other than the website, it would be social media. It would be on Twitter, Konsole Kingz, at Konsole Kingz, Twitter, Instagram at Konsole Kingz, and on Facebook is KKZ all day. That's if you're going to find out what we're doing, that's how you do it.
All right. Well, CJ Peters, thank you so much. Exactly. Thank you so much. And Miles Blockson, thank you as well.
Konsole Kingz!